My own sister threw Grandpa's old leather journal in the trash like it was nothing more than yesterday's coffee grounds, smirking as she said, "Let the dead keep their junk buried." But when I fished it out and cracked it open at 4 a.m. in my freezing Portland apartment, the first page made my hand shake so bad I almost dropped my phone. Turns out is that junk held the key to over $2 million my family never knew existed, and proof that the people I grew up calling blood had been robbing him blind for years. What she said next when I finally confronted her still makes my blood boil every time I replay it. "Girl, have you ever had someone you loved look you dead in the eye and lie so smoothly you questioned your own sanity?" Yeah, me too. And it gets worse. Before I spill the rest of this mess, and trust me, it's a mess. Thank you for sitting here with me while I pour my heart out. Seriously, it means the world that y'all are listening. If you're new here or you've been riding with me for a while, please hit that subscribe button real quick. That little click helps more than you know, especially on days when I'm still shaking from reliving this. Drop into the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is there. Love picturing us all scattered across the country, sipping coffee or wine, just being real with each other. And tell me, have you ever had to cut ties with family to protect your peace? No judgment here, just sisterhood. Okay, deep breath. Now let me tell you what really happened. My name is Lena Harper. I'm 34, single mom to my 9-year-old daughter Maya, and I live in a 1-bedroom walk-up in Southeast Portland, Oregon, the part where rent keeps climbing faster than my blood pressure. I work full-time as a medical billing specialist at a women's health clinic downtown, chasing insurance claims all day so other women can afford their mammograms. There are therapy sessions, there are birth control without going broke. The irony? My own health insurance barely covers the anxiety meds I started taking after the divorce 3 years ago. Between the student loans that never seem to shrink, Maya's dance classes I can barely swing, and the car that sounds like it's gargling gravel every time I hit the Hawthorne Bridge. Life already felt like I was treading water with bricks in my pockets. Grandpa Harold, Hank Whitaker, was the one steady thing I had growing up. He lived out in Hillsboro in this sweet little craftsman house with a big backyard where Maya and I would pick blackberries every summer. He was a retired high school math teacher who still tutored kids on the side, always with a twinkle in his eye and a deck of cards ready for a game of gin rummy. Everyone said he lived simple, drove the same '98 Toyota, wore the same flannel shirts, ate the same oatmeal for breakfast. My sister Brooke and I grew up hearing how Grandpa doesn't have 2 pennies to rub together anymore, especially after Grandma passed and medical bills ate up whatever savings they had left. Brooke believed it. I wanted to, but Grandpa always told me, numbers don't lie, Lena Bug. People do. He passed quietly last spring, just shy of 87. Heart gave out in his sleep. The funeral was small, rainy Portland day, umbrellas everywhere. Everyone pretending they weren't checking their watches. Brooke handled most of it because that's what she does. She organizes. She directs. She decides. She's 38. Married to a tech guy who works remote for some startup in Austin. 2 perfect kids in private school. House in the West Hills with the view. She's the golden child who made it, the one Mom always pointed to when I was scraping by on overtime. At the reception catered sandwiches nobody really ate, Brooke announced she was putting the house on the market immediately. It's just sitting there empty and the market's hot right now. We can split the proceeds fair and square. Mom nodded like it was gospel. I stood there holding Maya's hand, feeling like the odd one out again. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the last time I saw Grandpa alive. 2 weeks before he died, I drove out to Hillsboro with Maya. He was thinner, quieter, but his mind was razor sharp. He pulled me into the little den called his war room, bookshelves, floor to ceiling. Old adding machine still on the desk, handed me this worn leather journal. Not a fancy one, just something you'd buy at a drugstore. Edges frayed. Keep this safe, Lena Bug, he said, voice low. Don't show it to anyone yet, especially not your sister. I laughed it off, thought he was being dramatic, maybe mixing up memories. I tucked it in my bag and promised. Then he squeezed my hand so tight it hurt. Numbers don't lie, he whispered again. and neither should family. After the funeral, Brooke marched through the house like she owned it already, tagging furniture with sticky notes. "Brooke, Mom, donate." When she got to the den, she picked up that journal from the desk where I'd left it by accident. She flipped through a couple pages, mostly Grandpa's neat handwriting, columns of numbers, dates, little notes in the margins, then snorted. "This is just his old budgeting stuff. Worthless." Before I could say a word, she walked it straight to the kitchen trash and dropped it in like it burned her fingers. "Let the garbage truck take care of it. We don't need any more clutter." Mom chuckled like it was cute. Brooke shot me that look, the one that says, "Don't make a scene, Lena. You're embarrassing yourself." I waited until everyone left. Midnight, rain, tapping the windows like it was trying to get my attention. I pulled the trash bag out to the back porch, crouched under the porch light, and dug through coffee grounds and paper plates until my fingers closed around that leather cover. I wiped it clean on my jeans, heart hammering so loud I swear the neighbors could hear it. I opened it right there in the drizzle. The first few pages were normal grocery lists, utility payments, little reminders like call Lena about Maya's recital. Then the tone changed. Dates from 2012 onward, transfers, withdrawals, account numbers, and names. Brooke Whitaker Collins. Over and over. Amounts that made my stomach flip. $8,500 here. $10 there. $45,000 in one chunk, labeled Emergency Medical Forged POA, next to each entry. Grandpa had written in red ink, "Not authorized, signature traced, she knows I know." My own sister had been siphoning money from him for over a decade. I sat on those wet porch steps, rain soaking through my hoodie, staring at proof that the person who'd borrowed my last $300 for a quick weekend in Bend, back when I was pregnant, had actually been stealing from our grandfather while he was too. Weak to fight back. I felt sick. I felt furious. I felt terrified because if she'd done this, what else didn't I know? I photographed every single page with my phone, uploaded them to a secure cloud folder. I password protected with Maya's birthday plus my mom's maiden. Name ironic, right? Then I shoved the journal in my purse and drove home, shaking. I didn't sleep. I just kept staring at the ceiling thinking, how long has she been lying to all of us? And why did Grandpa trust only me to find this? The next morning I called in sick, first time in 2 years. I needed to think. I needed proof that wasn't just handwriting in a notebook. So I started where Grandpa always said to start, the numbers themselves. I drove to the old First Oregon Credit Union branch in Beaverton, the one Grandpa used for decades. I walked in with his death certificate, my ID, and that journal like it was a grenade. The teller took one look at the account numbers. I'd coppered and her polite smile froze. She excused herself, came back with the branch. Manager, a kind-eyed woman in her 50s named Carla. Carla sat me in her office. Flipped through the pages I showed her, and her face went pale. "Ms. Harper," she said quietly, "these accounts are flagged. High-value savings instruments. Your grandfather opened a trust-linked account in 2013. It's been dormant, but the balance is significant." She wrote a number on a notepad and slid it over. I laughed, tactual, nervous laugh because it didn't compute. Grandpa, who clipped coupons and drove 10 miles out of his way for cheaper gas, had $2.3 million hidden in plain sight. Carla wasn't laughing. There's more. In 2018, someone attempted a large withdrawal using a power of attorney document. The signature was flagged as inconsistent. Attempt denied. The POA was in your sister's name, Brooke Whitaker Collins. I sat there numb while Carla made calls to their fraud department. By the time I left, I had printouts, timestamps, everything in a sealed envelope, and one burning question: how deep did this go? That night, Brooke texted me, "Hey, sis, are you okay? Mom said you looked weird at the house." Just checking in, I stared at the heart emoji and felt bile rise. She was fishing. She knew something was off. I didn't reply. Instead, I called the only person I trusted who wouldn't judge me, my best friend Tara from the clinic. Over FaceTime at 11 p.m., wine in hand, I told her everything. She listened, then said the words that changed the game. Lena, this isn't just family drama. This is elder financial abuse. You need to talk to Adult Protective Services and a lawyer, like yesterday. The next morning I did both. But what I didn't know yet, what Grandpa's journal hadn't shown me, was that Brooke hadn't stopped at Grandpa. She'd been moving money through shell accounts tied to her husband's business. And Mom, she'd signed off on some of the POAs years ago, claiming it was for his own good. The trap Grandpa set was bigger than I realized, and I was about to spring it. I didn't sleep much those first few nights after the credit union. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Brooke smirk when she tossed the journal. Heard Grandpa's quiet voice saying, "Numbers don't lie," and felt this hot, twisting rage mixed with the deepest kind of grief, like I'd lost him all over again. Only this time I knew exactly who took pieces of him while he was still breathing. I followed Tara's advice and called Adult Protective Services the next day. The caseworker, Maria, was calm, kind, no nonsense, the kind of woman who'd clearly heard stories, like mine 100 times. She listened while I read her the key entries from the journal, sent her the photos I'd taken, and told her about the flagged account. She said the words that made it all real. This qualifies as financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. We're opening an investigation immediately. Do not confront your sister or mother yet. Let us build the case. Building the case took weeks that felt like years. I went back to work pretending everything was fine, smiling at patients, fighting with insurance reps over denied claims, coming home to Maya asking why I seemed sad mad. I told her it was grown up stuff and hugged her extra tight. Inside, I was documenting everything. Every text from Brooke, "Hey, any luck clearing out Grandpa's stuff?" Every call from Mom, "We really need to get that house listed." Honey, every little probe to see if I'd found something. I saved screenshots, voice memos of conversations, even noted the timestamps. Grandpa taught me to be thorough. I was being thorough. Then came the lawyer. I found her through a women's legal aid group here in Portland, low cost. Consults for situations just like this. Her name's Priya Patel. Mid-40s, sharp as a tack, and she didn't sugarcoat anything. We met at a coffee shop near my clinic because I couldn't afford fancy office fees. I slid the journal and bank printouts across the table. She read in silence for 20 minutes, then looked up. "Lena, your grandfather was brilliant. He didn't just hide money, he built a paper trail designed to survive him. This isn't speculation. This is evidence of felony-level fraud, forgery, elder abuse. If we move carefully, we can freeze assets, file for civil recovery, and hand the criminal side to the DA. But you have to stay quiet. No family dinners where you accidentally tip your hand." I nodded, even though every fiber of me wanted to drive to Brooke's perfect West Hills house and scream until the windows cracked. The silence was torture. Brooke kept pushing about the house sale. She texted photos of real estate agents walking through, staging ideas, comps showing 6 figures, easy. "We could each walk away with enough to make life easier," she wrote. "You could finally get out of that tiny apartment. Get Maya into a better school district." The guilt trip was masterful. I replied with vague sounds, "Good, busy week," and hated myself for it. Then the first real payoff hit. Maria from a PS called one afternoon while I was on lunch break. "We subpoenaed bank records from all accounts linked to your grandfather. Your sister made 37 unauthorized transfers totaling $1.4 million between 2014 and 2022. Some went straight to her personal accounts. Others routed through a consulting LLC she set up with her husband, clean on paper, dirty in reality. Your mother co-signed 3 of the larger POAs. She knew I had to step outside the clinic and lean against the brick wall so I wouldn't cry in front of co-worker. 1.4 million. While I was working double shifts to afford Maya's asthma inhalers, while Grandpa was eating ramen because the fixed income only stretches so far, they were funneling his life savings into vacations, private schools, kitchen remodels. Priya filed the civil suit quietly the next week, petition to invalidate the POAs. Demand accounting of all funds. Freeze any remaining estate assets pending investigation. Brooke got served at her house on a Tuesday morning. I wasn't there, but Tara drove by later and told me Brooke's husband was pacing the driveway yelling into his phone while the kids stared from the window. The fallout started small, then snowballed. Brooke called me that night, voice shaking, not with guilt, with panic. Lena, what the hell is this? Some lawsuit with my name on it? This has to be a mistake. I'd never hurt Grandpa. I stayed calm, the way Priya coached me. I don't know what you're talking about, Brooke. Maybe call your lawyer. She laughed, brittle. You're seriously playing dumb. Mom's freaking out. She says you must have stirred something up because you're always so jealous. I hung up. Mom called next, crying, how could you do this to your sister? To our family? After everything we've been through? Everything we've been through. Like she hadn't spent years telling me I was too sensitive, too dramatic, while Brooke got the praise, the help, the attention. I said the only thing I could. Mom, Grandpa left me instructions. I'm following them. Click. The criminal side moved faster than I expected. Portland PD's Financial Crimes Unit took over after APs referred it. They interviewed neighbors who'd seen Brooke's car at Grandpa's house way more often than she'd admitted. Pulled phone records showing calls to banks right after visits. Even found a notary who'd backdated a POA document because your sister seemed so stressed about her grandfather's care. Then came the search warrant. They raided Brooke's house and her husband's office. Computers, hard drives, filing cabinets. They found spreadsheets detailed, ones matching. Grandpa's red ink notes exactly. Transfers labeled family support that went to luxury car payments. European trips, down payments on investment properties. One entry even said Lena sharehold 4. Nah, like they were planning to toss me crumbs later to keep me quiet. Brooke got arrested at her kids' school, pickup cuffs in front of the carpool line. Other mom staring, phones out. She didn't scream or fight. She just went pale and kept repeating, this is a misunderstanding. Her husband posted bail the next day. But the damage was done. His startup investors pulled funding within 48 hours. Reputation in tech circles is everything. Mom wasn't arrested. The DA was still deciding on accessory charges, but her name was all over the paperwork. She stopped calling me after that. Just one text. I raised you better than this. I didn't reply. The hearing started 3 months later. I sat in the back of the courtroom every time. Maya with my neighbor because she didn't need to see this. Priya presented Grandpa's journal as people's Exhibit A, the judge, a woman in her 60s with kind but tired eyes, read entries aloud. When she got to the one where Grandpa wrote, Brooke came today, asked for help with tuition. Took $22,000. I said no more after this. She smiled and said she'd handle it. The room went dead quiet. Brooke's lawyer tried everything. Diminished capacity, undue influence. She was under enormous stress caring for an elderly parent. The prosecution brought in Grandpa's primary care doctor, who testified he was mentally sharp until the very end. No dementia, no confusion, just arthritis and a tired heart. They brought in the bank manager who'd met with Grandpa in 2020. He was clear, composed, and very specific about protecting his granddaughter. I took the stand once. Priya asked me simple questions. When did Grandpa give you the journal? What did he say? Did you ever see your sister at his house unannounced? I answered truthfully, voice steady, even though my knees were knocking. When Brooke's lawyer cross-examined me, isn't it true you've always resented your sister's success? I looked right at him and said, I resented watching my grandfather get robbed while my daughter and I struggled. That's what I resented. The courtroom felt like it exhaled. In the end, Brooke took a plea, 5 years, 3 suspended. Restitution ordered for the full $1.4 million plus interest. Her husband divorced her 6 weeks later. The kids went with them. Mom settled. Seville gave up any claim to the estate, paid what she could. She lives in a small apartment in Gresham now, alone. She sends Maya birthday cards. I let Maya decide if she wants to open them. The money once frozen accounts cleared, restitution processed. House sold came to just over $2.6 million in my name. I didn't blow it. I paid off every debt, set up college funds for Maya, started therapy for both of us. Turns out insurance covers a lot when you advocate. Then I did what Grandpa would have loved. I bought a little storefront in Alberta Arts District, turned it into Whitaker's Corner cozy bookstore with a reading nook. Board games, Saturday, story time for kids. In the back, there's a small table with a deck of cards and a framed photo of Grandpa. Mid-laugh holding baby Maya under it. His favorite line in his own handwriting, numbers don't lie. Neither should family. I still get letters from Brooke Long once about how she's changed. How prison opened her eyes. How I owe her forgiveness for the sake of the kids. I read the first one. Shredded the rest. Some bridges burn for a reason. Maya and I play gin rummy every Sunday night. She always wins 'cause I let her. But lately she's started catching on to my bluffs. Mom, she says, eyes sparkling. Numbers don't lie. No, baby girl, they don't. And neither do I anymore. Thank you for staying with me through all of this. Through the rage, the tears, the waiting, the winning. If that story hit home for you, drop A in the comments. Tell me one boundary you've set with family that changed your life. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. I promise more real stories, real lessons, real hope. We're in this together, y'all. One day, one honest step at a time. See you in the next one. Love you.